We have a packed program here in Rotterdam. First of all, we have 30 minutes exclusively online content for you here in the studio where we will look forward with Erwin Siveris, the director of the Interact Europe program. We will talk a little bit with our project officers and finance officers who are ready here to answer your questions in a live Q&A session throughout the afternoon. And we'll talk with Steve Sampson, who is actually a member of one of the recently approved projects, and we'll reflect with him on his project application process and some of the tricks and tips and learnings that he might have for you if you're interested in joining Interact. And as I said, this afternoon is quite interactive. There's various ways that you can interact with us. One of the things I can do, for example, we can start several polls. If you're sitting right now watching this video feed, you'll see on the right side of your screen, you see a little interactivity box. You can post your questions. I see some of you already posted whether there was something wrong or whether we were starting late. Well, we're starting exactly on time. And I can start a poll. For example, this one. I can ask you, have you ever participated in an online event before? Now that I click this, very soon you will see that coming up on your screen. And all you need to do is actually click a vote and we can gain some information from you. Here the first votes come in. It's about 56% currently. You see real-time results. Most of you have been here before. Maybe some of you were at the Bologna Interact Forum where we also webcasted a big part. But just to show you, we will do many of these polls throughout the show. Let me do another one, because I'm very curious who you are and where you're watching. Let's ask you, I'm very curious to know, what is your current affiliation with Interact? So this is a new question. Next question, please answer again. Are you watching this because Interact Europe is totally new for you? You've seen some buzz maybe in the media, maybe from your local representatives in the countries, or maybe on social media, and you joined us now for the first time. Or are you perhaps one step further down in the process and you're currently already considering to submit a project and you really want to use this afternoon to get better at your submission and to make sure or to increase your chances that your submission might even be improved? Or the other options are you might already be part of the Interact community, you might have been in an approved project in the past. Well, I repeat the answer options so you have a chance to vote. And I see that about 50% of you guys, as you can see on your screen now as well, is already considering to submit a project. And for about 33% of you, Interact Europe is totally new. Now, who better to explore Interact Europe with than with the director of the Interact Europe program, Erwin Siveris. Please join me. Welcome. And congratulations with this magnificent venue and this exciting event that's ahead of us these few days.
Thank you.
As we see in the poll, about 33%, one-third of our viewers has basically no clue what Interact Europe is and are new to the program. Could you briefly explain what this is?
Yeah, let me try. Most of the things are already written in the name Interact Europe. Interact Rec stands for regions. Inter stands for interaction. So we want the regions to interact all over Europe to identify good solutions, to learn from each other, to transfer these good solutions in their own regions, and if possible, using their regional structural funds program or a related territorial cooperation program.
Exactly, because in the end, this program is also about funding, about money. How does it work? Can anybody just submit a project and get funding, or can you explain a little bit more how that works? First of all, how large is the fund for this call that's up?
So first of all, we have 300 million euro available to fund regions in Europe for the exchange of experience and the transfer of good practice in their regions. We have, of course, clear requirements. Not everyone can come asking for funding. First of all, we address regions. We address regional actors. This is a program to improve regional policy. So these are the target groups. Then we have two tools to profit from this program. The one is applying for projects. The requirements we have are written down on our website in program manuals and the tools which are available. And then we creating a new tool called Policy Learning Platforms. We are just about to contract to build it up, and we hope that in autumn we have further news for you to explain you how it works. The idea behind is to allow regions to come to us to exchange with other regions without doing the application for project.
Exactly. So that is all stuff that is on the agenda for this afternoon, both on stage and here in the studio. You mentioned this is specifically to stimulate regions and regional cooperation. What makes the region so important in Europe?
I mean, Europe is about regions. We have, of course,
You
we
could
have
also say it's about countries or cities. So perhaps for people who are new to this, what is this region?
of course, there's also about countries, but you know, some countries are large countries. But the identity of the people are mostly close to the region.
Okay.
There's almost always a regional identity everywhere in Europe.
Yeah.
So it's the regions, the local region level, who is the core of Europe,
core
of
of
the
what is
people,
binding
of the
people.
people working
Exactly.
together.
All right.
The language, the culture. It's also the core in many countries for regional policy, economic policy, social policy, environmental policy. Depending on the country, the regions have a lot to say in the policy affecting the life of the people in the area.
And that's why this program taps into the regional level and tries to
That's it.
make them cooperate.
That's it, exactly.
That's a nice thought. Thank you for clarifying. Now, let's bring those objectives into this event, because this is a two-day forum here in Rotterdam. This morning there was already a large workshop for the approved projects. It's a kind of a side program.
Yeah.
And in about 25 minutes, we're going to start with about 700 fans of interregional cooperation in this room. This room is going to fill up while we talk here. What's going to happen over the course of the 2 days?
First of all, I'm very happy to have such a huge interest for this event. It shows a huge interest for our program. It shows the huge interest for interregional cooperation. 700 participants here, many more on the screen. This gives us a further boost to work for you, to work for the regions, to make cooperation happen. The aim is of the event here on the stage, of course also online, to inform you, first of all, what is the program about? What is our aim? Who is the target group? What are the possibilities? What is the added value of cooperation? Secondly, we have also about half of the participants which are totally new, meaning they do not have an experience in working before in interregional cooperation. We want to give them a chance also to have first-hand information, and then the big other purpose of the event is to contact, to network. This is also a networking event.
Excellent.
You find here other regions in Europe who are looking for partners, who have concrete project ideas, who have problems, they are looking for solutions. So this is the place to be, to connect, talk, meet people, and build up contacts which could and should lead in project preparations, in good proposals for the second call. Or the third call. Of course, we were well aware that the second call closes already in May. So don't be frustrated if you don't make it for the second call. There will probably be also a third call. We are well aware that project preparation needs time.
Exactly. And don't get frustrated about the fact either that some of all these beautiful benefits of the people here about networking, about making new contacts, that you might be missing out, because you won't. Stay tuned, because in a little bit I will explain to you, together with my team here on the side, how you can actually participate and how you can submit project ideas, find partners, even while you're not here in Rotterdam. Now finally, let's dream a little bit. 3 days in the future, a week in the future, 2 months in the future, this event is done. What do you hope that this event makes happen? What do you hope the participants will do, or the online participants will do, with the stuff that has happened here?
First of all, the purpose is to pass the idea that cooperation helps. Cooperation is a tool to learn from each other. Cooperation is a tool to do better policies in your region. You can only do smart investments if you are yourself smart. You have the knowledge. And what we offer is to connect with regions who have good solutions already implemented, solutions which work.
And spread those policies, right?
Spread the policies and transfer it in their own region. So you avoid that you reinvent the wheel, that you do the mistakes others have done. So you are much quicker in identifying a good policy. You're much quicker in improving your regional policy. So this is the purpose. We want to spread this message. We want to advocate this.
And are you also looking for more applications? Is that the aim? We want as many project applications as possible?
Of course, the outcome is that you use the program. Use the program with the project applications, but also using later on the platform tools. The funds will, at a certain stage, will all be committed. Maybe we have 3 calls and that's it. But then the platforms should be installed, giving you a further tool to communicate, to transfer, to meet regions, to improve your policy using the knowledge of the other regions in Europe.
All right. Well, Erwin Sivers, thank you very much. I wish you a very great time on stage and the rest of this event in Rotterdam. And we'll go look how people online can participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Erwin.
Because networking, making new contacts, finding new project partners, obviously that's what this event is all about, but we also want to see if we can transfer that activity to you guys online. And for that, I here have what I call our interaction social media table, and I'm going to move all the way to the head of the table to Raluca. Raluca, you are also the social media manager for Interact in general, but here today you're also chief interactivity. So explain a little bit with us, how can online participants interact with us and influence what happens here on site?
Yes, so hello, first of all,
Yes.
Gerrit, and good afternoon to everybody that is watching us online.
Yeah.
You already mentioned that we wanted to make this event available to not only the people that can join us here in Rotterdam, but as well as many out there throughout Europe. So the idea would be, we have here 4 of my colleagues, the policy officers and finance officers. They are the ones that are involved in the evaluation of the project. So
They
people
are true experts.
Yeah,
You guys know
so-
all about this stuff, right? Yeah, yeah.
So for the people that are watching us online, if they have any questions related to their application or to the program in general, they are the people that will best know how to answer.
Yeah.
And to take profit of that, the best ways to interact with us are either throughout Twitter,
Okay.
and we have a designated hashtag for this event, which is Europe Cooperates.
Hashtag Europe Cooperates. If you include that in your messages, it will pop up on your screens, right? And you'll start to answer those questions.
Yeah,
Yes?
exactly. This will help us keep track of everything that happens. So use Europe Cooperates, or throughout Facebook on our Facebook page, Interreg Europe. There is a post over there, and we encourage people to comment on that particular post with their questions.
Yeah. If you're not a Twitter user on Facebook, then people can, you guys can put your answers straight into the comment, right? So we keep that all nicely together.
Yeah.
And then on the website, there's also a tab, questions. What happens if people use that?
We will try to monitor that as well
Yeah.
and answer your questions directly over there. So don't hesitate to
Yeah.
answer whatever you
Exactly.
can, and we'll do our best throughout the day.
But you should know that we do have a challenge in that interface, right? Because
Yeah.
we cannot really respond to you. So our proposal is we use Twitter and Facebook for live Q&A to the project and finance officer.
Yeah.
And if you have questions for anybody in the studio or on stage,
Yeah.
you use the
You-
questions button.
Yeah, the Slido stream that you see on our webpage.
And that means that if anything interesting pops up, you're going to interrupt me right there, right?
I will try to.
All
yes.
right. Well, good luck, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you.
And let me know if anything interesting comes up. I'll come checking in later on when we're back with you guys in the studio. Let's look behind. Well, the room is not really filling up yet. There's about 10, 20 people who found their spots in the seats. We have about 15 minutes before the plenary is going to start. And in that time, I would like to talk with someone who actually has experience with applying to Interact Europe projects. And not only some experience, he's got a good experience because he is part of an already approved project. So I'd like to invite here in the studio Steve Sampson. You're the Trade Development Manager of the Kent County Council in the UK.
That's right.
Steve, welcome.
Thank
glad
you.
Glad you wanted
Glad
to come
to be
here.
here.
Could you, in like a very brief 2 sentences, explain what your project, which is called the SME, so Small Medium Enterprise Internationalization Exchange, is all about?
Yeah, well, hopefully the project does what it says on the tin. So it's really about 7 regions from across Europe working together to look at how best we can encourage our SMEs from our regions to actually take advantage of opportunities in international markets and to do more business in different countries. So it's really a reflection on how we do that in our regions, what we can learn from each other, and how that can ultimately benefit our businesses through changing policies.
Exactly, and that naturally fits in your job description, right?
Absolutely.
If you're a trade development manager.
That's right, yeah.
Now take us back to that moment when you're sitting in your office thinking about how you can improve the trade, and then you think, you know what? I'm looking for interregional cooperation. I'm going to apply for this program.
Okay, well,
when was this?
Well, I've been working on the area of trade development for quite a few years now, and it's a difficult area, particularly in my own region in Kent in the UK. We have low export levels with our businesses, but I know Interreg quite well. I used to be involved in the cross-border program between the UK and France, and I was just basically looking for. Well, I was reading the information about the Interreg Europe program, and I just saw that there was a whole priority related to SME support and SME competitiveness. And as I read the program document, I thought, well, that fits exactly with what I really want to do in Kent, and there's a real opportunity there to.
But were you already thinking about international cooperation, or did you add that to your own ambitions when you saw that?
Well, the thing about this theme in particular, internationalisation of SMEs, requires international cooperation.
Yeah, so that came natural.
So absolutely, for our companies, it's about making contacts in different markets, and as people that run programs and projects to help companies get into new markets, we need that international cooperation. So it was a real natural fit, I think, from the beginning.
All right, but to apply to an Interreg Europe project, or to become an Interreg project partly funded by Interreg, you need partners.
You do,
so
absolutely,
what do you do?
Absolutely. Well, I started to make a few connections through some of my contacts.
And just quickly for our viewers who are new, we'll learn about that on stage. But how many partners, or what kind of partners do you need? I think it's
right.
6 or 8
Well, I think the optimum number I was told, and I'll perhaps come on to this later, but said the advice from the JS was to keep your partnership to between about 5 and 10 partners, because that way it's manageable. I actually had expressions of interest from about 27, so it was a really difficult task for me to actually choose those partners that were going to be.
When you say expressions of interest,
yeah,
they just emailed you, or how did they find out?
So there were two things. One, I used some existing contacts in different countries to see if they knew of organisations that might be interested in joining a project.
Yep.
And then I attended the launch event for Interreg Europe in Bologna back in 2014, and met a few people there. And then basically from there I gathered the contacts and asked people to send me more information about why they would like to be involved, what strengths could they bring to the partnership, and in particular it was around looking for regions that shared some characteristics with Kent. So in terms of size, in terms of some of the priority economic sectors.
Or was that all part of the best practices?
That was my own thought. So I had some interest from some large capital cities in Europe, but I thought, well, that's not really a good match for my region. The challenges are slightly different. The number of SMEs they have in their areas are different. So we really tried to kind of look at the expressions of interest and choose those that really were suited to the partnership.
Yeah, and then you guys had to come up with a project application.
That's right.
Which
absolutely.
we will learn is quite an.
It's
quite a project.
It's quite
the application in itself.
Yeah, but don't be afraid. There's a lot of advice and support out there, and I'd say that to any applicants. If you're thinking about Interreg Europe, have a look at the program manual, get in contact with the Joint Secretariat, attend an event like the one today, because there's a lot of useful information that can help you in making that application. Of course, it's hard work.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of contact needed between the partners. You need to think about your idea and your concept and how that's going to fit in with the program's priorities, because essentially it's not about looking for not about just the financing. It's really about matching the opportunity that's there provided by Interreg and how that can benefit each of the regions in a project.
So what was the core of your idea together with your partners?
So really, I know from my own work that we've struggled with how we can best support companies in our region with internationalisation. So we were looking at kind of. We thought, well, there must be some other regions in Europe doing this well. There must be other regions doing things that we don't know about, or we haven't tried, or we haven't had the finances for. So it would be really useful and really interesting to see how companies are supported in other regions, and how their policies, how their policies enable projects to happen, initiatives to happen that can help companies. So I thought that whole idea of just combining knowledge, looking at what else is being done, could
Do you
really
have
add
to
value to my own
specify
region.
in your application what you're going to do with these partners? Because
Absolutely.
this defines very well
Of
what kind of
course,
partners
yeah,
you're looking
of
for. But
course.
what are you guys going to do?
So first of all, we're going to carry out some joint research. We're going to look for our projects very particular to SME support. So we're going to look at what those barriers are that SMEs face in each of our regions, and pick out some common threads. Are there issues that SMEs face across Europe?
So
and
it's
how
a
we can help?
partly, it's a research program.
Absolutely. So it starts with some research, and then we're going to look at the results of that research, and we're going to look at what's happening in each region. So we've got a number of study visits planned where the partners and their stakeholders will travel around to the different regions to see the policies being implemented in reality, and looking at different ways of supporting companies. So it might be sector-specific support, it might be microfinancing schemes, and we will really want to see how that works, and then how from that learning experience from those study visits we can then take that learning and apply it to our own
And
regions.
you create some kind of policy best practices list?
Absolutely.
Or
So
is that the
we're going to
intended
come up
outcome?
with, I think the idea, we know from initial, from early conversations with the partners that they're doing some really great initiatives, and so we're really going to try and draw out the best practice and see how that can be kind of lifted up from one region and placed into another
Yep.
for the benefit of companies.
Yep.
So
Hey, and obviously in this cooperation, one of the partners needs to be the lead. How did
Yeah.
you guys pick that one?
well, I kind of volunteered. I don't know if that was a good idea or not really.
No, is it
I think
costing you a lot of extra time? Or?
There will be a lot of, there's a lot of resource involved. I've led previous cross-border Interreg programs, projects before, and I know what I'm getting myself into. But I think with a good partnership and with planning and
Because how does that work at your county? Is this on top of your daily job, or is this part of your daily
yeah,
job?
well,
or how,
for me, it's really complementary to my daily job. So it really enables me to look at my day-to-day job, which is about helping companies and finding new ways to support them. And this really just adds some value. So it will be extra work, of course, but it's a real opportunity to increase what we're doing and to really bring some new ideas and new initiatives into our region.
Exactly. Well, let me just interrupt you briefly. If you just joined us, on the right side of your screen there's a question box, and if you're listening to Steve Sampson here from the Kent County Council, who is actually experienced and got his project approved, this is your time to type in your questions, or if you don't have a question yourself, to vote up a question of someone else, because Steve is with us for another 3-4 minutes, and I can actually ask your question on your behalf directly to Steve. Or if your friends are, oh, we have one, Raluca, please jump in, talk into a microphone. Yes.
Yes, there is a question for Steve coming from our online participants. How long did it take for you to prepare the project?
How long did it take to
Prepare the
prepare the
project
project.
Yeah, so the
application?
whole project
So
application phase, how much time?
From
did
the
that go?
initial idea, it was probably about 9 months, I think, from the initial idea to actually getting the application submitted. It took probably about, I think it was about 5 to 6 weeks of actual time really spent with partner teleconferences and with actually writing the application form.
Exactly. So did you guys meet physically, virtually?
We met. Some of us met at the launch event in Bologna, but
Yep.
we actually
kind of
met
the core team.
Yeah, that's right. But we really tended to meet virtually just for practical reasons.
Yep.
But we had several teleconferences and daily email exchanges to make sure that we were all in agreement with the content of the application.
And that was all focused on that application form.
That's right. So
And
really,
then
yeah,
it's
really.
fingers crossed, or after that,
Yeah.
or did you guys get started? Because I can also imagine that you create so much energy
Yeah.
that at some point you don't even care if you get these funds.
That's
right.
right.
they're probably,
Well, I think
yeah.
the timing was, the submission deadline was just before the summer, so it was July. So I think a lot of us just went on and took some holiday then
Exactly,
and
yeah.
breathed a sigh of relief. But we've of course been in contact in the meantime, and I think one of the added benefits really is that we're able to formalise a network of organisations where we can use really use that. For the benefit of our companies anyway. So of course there's the Interreg cooperation, but we're hoping that there'll be wider ongoing cooperation between our organisations.
All right. Well, thank you, online viewers, and thank you, Raluca. Keep them coming, and throughout the afternoon, if you see something, you have a question, you have a comment, you have a thought, please share it with us either in the question box or to #EuropeCooperates. Well, Steve, I'm wondering, now that you're on the other end, and I think you guys just learned that you're an approved.
Yeah, we
only a
found
few
out
months
about
ago.
a month ago. Yeah, about a
Exactly.
month ago. So it's
So this makes you now a successful, experienced Interreg applicant. What are some of the tips that you can now say were successful? What,
Okay.
if you would have to do this again,
Yeah.
what would you do differently?
Well, definitely, as I said earlier, just listen to all, listen to the advice that's out there. Really take the time to look through the program manual, to liaise with the JS, and I know they provided some really valuable feedback on a draft
When
concept
you
that I
say
submitted.
JS, it's the General Secretary.
Yeah, Joint Tech Secretariat. They're there to help. They want good quality projects to come through for the Interreg Europe program. So really take advantage of that, and I think just careful planning as well, because we know
So
when the
one is
application
read
deadline
the
is.
manual.
Read the
That's what they
manual,
all say.
take advice, and get all the advice and support that you can, and planning really. I think people know when the application deadline is, and it's very tempting to leave everything to the last minute. But I think careful planning, careful work with the partners, in particular, setting deadlines within the partnership,
clear
so
deadlines and follow up on
information
them.
can be with the lead partner by a certain date. That really helps
Perfect.
to ensure a smooth process.
I see another question from Raluca. Raluca, speak up loud because you're
Yes,
talking to a microphone, but we
sorry.
can barely hear you.
There are several questions coming up for you, Steve, from our online audience. But one of them is, how did you identify the relevant policy instruments to address by your project?
Okay, so that.
Okay, so the question is, but I'm not sure if you can answer that already, because they're wondering, how are you going to identify what the relevant policy is? So because you said, I'm going to do research, then
Yeah.
we're going to compile that, but obviously you need to
Yeah.
determine what you're going to research
Of course.
on.
Well, this is all underpinned by relevant policies, and the program manual and the program is very clear that essentially the main policies that this program wants to address are structural funds programs. So really that was
And
that
that
was
is
what
kind
we're
of a
looking at.
guideline, what policies to include and what
Absolutely. So within my own region, we have an ERDF program, and part of that is SME internationalisation, and within the other partner regions, indeed as well. That was one of the key common threads for that links the whole project together and the whole partnership. So I think look at the guidance, because that gives
Can you,
clear indication.
to make it a little bit more tangible,
Yeah.
can you think of an example of a policy that you might wanted to have included, but you say, well, that's not going to work because that kind of brings it to life?
Yeah, well, we've got our own policies really. So as a county council, we set the strategy for our own area. So in a way, we were quite lucky that we were able to we know we can influence the policies that we develop ourselves, and we can influence as well those policies that govern the ERDF program. So I think it's being careful as well, because there's a whole range of policies that a project like ours can potentially input into. But
you need to select.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be select. You need to look at those policies where there's going to be a real opportunity to actually make a difference. So the structural fund programs in each member
guideline,
state, in particular, run in parallel with the Interreg Europe program. So early engagement with the people that run those policies is really important.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
And it seems that you've awakened, I'm not sure, it seems that you've awakened our online audience, but she's saying no. But this is how this works this afternoon. Great job for you guys. Thank you for submitting your questions. As you can see, the room is starting to fill up. I just got a cue that we have about 2-3 minutes. So I'm going to close off with Steve. Steve, thank you very much for being
You're
with
welcome.
us.
It's been a pleasure.
And sharing all your tips with our
No
online
problem.
viewers.
Okay, thank you.
And while we're almost ready to head over to stage, let me explain a little bit what's coming up here this afternoon, because you've been just witnessing a part of the online show, the online exclusive content that we have here for you. We have 2 more of these little segments. One is during the coffee break at 3:30, when the physical audience goes to take a coffee. Well, you don't need a physical coffee break, because you guys can get coffee anytime you want. We'll be here in the studio with Jane, her name slips. It's Jane Riebegaard from Denmark and Federico Scarbi, who will be here. So if you have any questions for them, please make sure you submit them, and I will take them on your behalf. The lights dim. I think we're about ready to go. Please keep participating with us, and I'm looking forward to see you back at 3:30 right here in the studio. Or if you have any questions during the program, I will then ask them on your behalf. Let me turn around and see if anything happened. No, there's still a lot of people walking in. That allows me time to actually activate a new poll, because I'd also like to know, as you might be aware, Interreg has these 4 thematic interests. I just launched a poll. I'm curious to see, what is your main thematic interest that you want to learn more about and that your project is working on. Make a quick click on the poll, and that gives us some insight. I see a lot of people are here for environment and resource efficiency. Research and innovation, well, are kind of competing for it. And make sure you keep an eye on these polling options, because during the plenary program on stage, our main moderator, which is Katharina Sikkel, who had a rough morning because she actually had to come from Brussels this morning. She's here right now, made it on stage, and she will actually ask you some questions. Music starts, let's head to stage. See you at 3:30.